Today is Sunday, May 11th, and a happy Mother's Day to all as we celebrate the mothers around the world. Well done, and we're thank you for all of you for bringing us into the world here as we welcome you back to the Frozen Edge, your daily home for all picks, props, and parlays, along with former NHL senior manager of hockey analytics, Timo Seppa. I'm Casey Ditzel. Timo, what's happening? Happy Mother's Day to your family. I know you were celebrating earlier this morning.
Yeah, nice family get together with a little bit of a extended family. My three girls and I are very thankful for my wife and uh, remembering my own mom here.
I'm headed back home tonight to go celebrate as well. And it's been a tough couple of days here packing up the house. And it's finally starting to kick in that college is coming to a close. A day probably my mom thought was never going to happen here, 6 years down. And man, it's crazy to think how fast it goes. And I'm sure you're in the same boat with as many seasons of hockey that you've covered here. Let's go right into last night on the NHL slate. An unbelievable finish to the late game, a little bit different in the early game. Carolina and Washington. Carolina, although it looked like Washington kind of had the edge early, the first half of the game really stepped it up. A 4-0 win for the Hurricanes. They take a 2-1 series lead.
Yeah, it was a game that looked like it was going a little bit like game two, right? Where Washington was actually ahead on the shots. Not quite as deep into the game as in game two, but they definitely were ahead. And then some critical mistakes, especially on the first Carolina goal. That was a huge play by Svechnikov to out hustle John Carlson on the faceoff. I know that the TNT studio guys placed most of the blame on Rasmus Sandin, but I saw him more as a secondary culprit. Carlson, as a veteran leader, cannot lose that pocket battle on the faceoff, and that was the one big step that went towards a Carolina victory.
Ironically, we were going back and forth about how Carolina kind of needed to step it up a little bit about our conversation yesterday with the need for those star scorers. I was mentioning maybe Sebastian Aho, just 3 goals in the 8 games so far for the Hurricanes. But Andrei Svechnikov, just about as we were talking about that, put the Canes on the board, and all of a sudden they were off and running. Andrei Svechnikov, career in the playoffs, plus 13, 43 points in 58 games. And this season, 6 goals, 7 points in 8 games this postseason. He has been outstanding. Freddie Anderson must have been listening to the podcast as well, Timo. A shutout for him, and now he's boosted his stats to a 940 goals against average. Thompson, who's been the rock for the Capitals, didn't quite look the same as maybe the dominant guy that they need him to be.
Yeah, Thompson still has a 922 save percentage in the playoffs, which is also a very good save percentage. The fact that both of those goalies have the well above average save percentages with 940 and 922 might point towards bettors out there picking the unders on these games.
And agree, they've hit so far 3 for 3. They'll be back in action tomorrow, but the shining game of the night and the shining finish of maybe the postseason was Edmonton and Vegas. A lot to break down here. We'll kind of clip through it and we can talk a lot more in depth about it tomorrow, Timo. But
Okay.
first off, it was the Corey Perry show, but the Corey Perry show was overshadowed by a Vegas comeback. We picked the Vegas bounce back, and again, it was kind of ironic. We're texting, you sent me a message. This series might be over. It's 2-0 Oilers. And maybe, hey, thanks for throwing that one out to the hockey gods because they listened and threw it right back at us. Vegas comes roaring back. And then again, it looks like life. McDavid gets that goal, but closing the door with 0.4 seconds were Vegas. Just going quickly through some of those goals, what stood out to you in the Vegas comeback?
The Vegas first goal that started the turnaround was I thought that was a big deal where you had Kolasar, who's kind of a role player for Vegas, makes the steal on Draisaitl as he's trying to make the zone entry, and that turns into a 2-on-1 goal for Vegas. So huge turnaround there where you've got the role players turning the tables on the top line for Edmonton. And it was a first look at Stuart Skinner not having a great night on some of these goals.
There was a few goals we were baffled by 2 nights ago. That game finishing goal was another one that you had to look pretty closely to see that it found the back of the net, but they end up with the review. The Vegas Golden Knights knew as they celebrated 0.4 seconds, the difference between Edmonton having a chance to take a 3-0 lead and now Vegas being right back in it. Early start to our slate today. Dallas and Winnipeg, a little bit of a switch up. They'll be the early game. 4:30 Eastern is the puck drop for that one. It is in Dallas for game 3. The game lines, Winnipeg plus 108, the spread at minus 240 for them as the underdogs. Dallas, the favorite, minus 130, the spread at plus 190 for them to win by a pair or more. And the over-under set at 5.5. Timo, Connor Hellebuyck with his 49th career shutout, fourth postseason shutout of his career in the Jets' 4-0 win from game 2. It's been a much different story on the road. So behind the numbers on the goaltending this series, what's standing out to you as we look towards this game 3?
Yeah, I wanted to dig into some more goalie stats. This is my goalie stats episode here. Just looking at the NHL Edge stats for grouping the shots by high danger, mid range, and long range. Ottinger has improved on what he was doing in the regular season. Not surprising, that's reflected in his results. For instance, like on high danger shots, Ottinger, 824 save percentage versus a league average in the playoffs of 802. So, kind of in every bucket of shots, Ottinger is doing like solidly above average. Whereas Hellebuyck, I won't go over the numbers. Obviously, his save percentages haven't been good in the postseason. So of course, all of those buckets are not going to look as good as league average. However, we do know that he had a shutout in the last game. The question is, will he turn it around? I want to add in one thing on Connor Hellebuyck that I was looking at, and it's the workload that he's faced. Since 2017, 2018, Hellebuyck has been top 3 in the league in games played in the regular season every season. And he was tied for the lead this season. I think that his issues this postseason are more mental than physical, but does the physical wear and tear play into it at all? These are the kind of questions that we had of Martin Brodeur and Henrik Lundqvist going back 10 or 15 years ago. And they were always big workhorses and taking on a huge workload, even when it wasn't needed for their teams. And I guess it's a question for Hellebuyck in that, does physical wear and tear play into some mental fatigue as well? So something that Winnipeg could look at going forward. And again, for this show, talking about how he's going to do in this game, in this series, I guess that's a question is, as we're looking to see if he can turn it around, can he turn it around mentally? And is that physical wear and tear playing into the mental fatigue?
Certainly some serious pressure on Connor Hellebuyck going into this game 3. The Stars have hit the over in 4 of their last 5 home games. The Jets have gone over in 4 of the last 5 road games. A lot of that due to some of the shaky goaltending performance, but that would fade towards the over set at minus 110. So that's one of our picks going into this Winnipeg-Dallas game. Another safer one, if you're looking to add to a parlay, Gabe Vilardi at over 1.5 shots per goal, or shots on goal, excuse me. Vilardi has recorded 2+ shots in 5 consecutive games, so a pretty reliable guy in that category, also coming off a goal in game 2. Timo, the game lines, tough to say. If you think Hellebuck's going to turn it around, maybe Winnipeg has a chance, but pretty tight odds there. You could go either way. If you think that road struggle is going to continue, maybe that wear and tear, Dallas at minus 130, not a bad pick. But we have our eyes set on the series and specifically on the series spreads, looking at maybe the chance for Dallas to take advantage of that split to start it off, maybe follow in Carolina's footsteps, pick one up to kick off their homestand here and put themselves in a good edge to move on. Dallas minus 1.5 on the series spread is set at plus 162 odds. Further that, if you think it's a 6-game set, Dallas to win in 6 plus 310. So some pretty good odds there as we look at maybe thinking Dallas can get some momentum, a looming Haskin in return, Robertson starting to pick up more and more minutes.
Yeah, and then obviously Dallas at home in Game 6 as well. So I mean, I think Dallas in 6 sounds like a solid way to go.
A few other storylines. Nick Ehlers broke a 14-game playoff drought the last game, 2 goals and an assist in that performance. So maybe looking to ride the hot hand there. Mikko Rantanen's hot streak came to an end there in game 2. And Timo, last question I'll ask you on this series. The Jets were able to hold Rantanen to just 1 shot on goal in that game. Could that mean the Jets have maybe adjusted defensively the right way looking forward in this series? Or is that kind of just a fluke and Rantanen is probably prone to continue having success throughout this playoffs?
Yeah, I think I said before that I feel like Rantanen is one of those hot and cold players. So I think probably a bunch of different factors with a little bit of hot and cold. Can't have that streak go on forever. Can't have a hat trick in every game. Can't have a hat trick in every period. But sure, I mean the Jets would be nuts not to focus on him. But yeah, I mean there's both of these teams have so much talent that if you focus your defense too much on stopping one guy or one line, you're just going to be enabling the rest of the scorers on the team.
Rantanen is the favorite to score in this game, set at plus 145. The late game tonight on the East Coast, Florida and Toronto, game 4 in Sunrise, and we'll see if the Panthers can rise to the occasion, trying to tie the series as they trail 2-1, a tight one against the Maple Leafs that took overtime, but who else but Brad Marchand to score the overtime game winner a couple nights ago. This will be a 7:30 puck drop. Toronto heavy underdogs at plus 158. Minus 158 on the plus 1.5 spread there. So that's pretty good value for Toronto to stay within a goal. Florida close to minus 200 on the money line. They are plus 128 on the spread. Over under set pretty high at 6.5 here. Another series where goaltending has been a serious topic of contention.
Yeah, of course. Huge storyline from a couple games ago was the injury to Stolarz, and not knowing what his situation is going to be long term. Obviously, Toronto has a solid but not similar caliber goalie in Walls. So you're talking about Stolarz being 4-2 and 901 in the playoffs, 926 regular season. Wall 2-1, but only in 869 in the playoffs, 909 in the regular season. So you definitely Toronto would be better off if you had a healthy Stolarz in there. However, where I think it's interesting on the goaltending is going back to Sergei Bobrovsky. The last game he was 871. So below average, but not well below average for the game save percentage. I looked at all of the games for the playoffs where Bob was below 871. He had 3 games where he was 810, 833, and 800. Florida is 0-3. In the 5 games where Bob was 871 or better, where he was 909, 1000, 900, 897 or 871, Florida is 5-0. So yeah, that corresponds frequently to around four goals against or so. But I guess what I would conclude is that Florida can survive if they have a slightly below average Bobrovsky, but they cannot have a solidly below average Bob. So yeah, definitely for Toronto, you'd love to have Stolarz in there if he was healthy. They've got to live with having Wall in there, And Bob, Florida can deal with it if he's just okay.
Brad Marchand, the big big time finisher there in game number 3. Marchand, known as the Leaf Killer, 31 career playoff games against Toronto. He has 33 career points in those games. He's at plus money to pick another one up here tonight. Brad Marchand, anytime point, set at plus 102. That's one of our picks with Marchand working on the power play units. Pretty good odds if you're going to back Florida to continue to find success. Another one of those shot props, trying to boost a parlay maybe at minus 215, Austin Matthews to have over 2.5 shots. That line has hit in 8 of the 9 games so far this postseason. Barkov and Kachuk have been a talking point around the media and speculation about overuse with not necessarily playtime this season, but back-to-back Stanley Cup finals, a game 7 last year, the Four Nations tournament. Kachuk missed the entirety of the end of the season from Four Nations going into the playoffs. Hasn't seen much production that we're used to seeing him have so far. Barkov's been having a little bit better production, but he was also banged up in and out of the regular season. Is this a spot that you worry about the Panthers at all, or do you go to things like the renewed fourth line with Nosek, Gadjevic, and Greer, who got the go-ahead goal there in the second period of that last game, led the team with 62.5% of the shot attempts at 5-on-5?
Yeah, as far as the injuries to Barkov, and Kachuk, I don't know if Barkov is injured. I understand from that there was some speculation on that. His face-off percentage was good in the last game. That's sometimes telling for a centerman if he's got a hand or wrist injury. I wouldn't think that that's the case. He's had 2 goals, so I would tend to not think that in the case of Barkov. I could be wrong. Kachuk, obviously, we know that he was out for a chunk of the season, for the end of the season, as you said. So I am going to say that those factors are already baked into what we're seeing in the series. However, obviously, if you're going on individual player props, you certainly have to think about that with Kachuk, but I would imagine that the player props are taking his coming back from injury into account in the odds.
Looking at the over-under in this series, it's set at 6.5, which is a pretty high line, but this has been a high-scoring series. The alternate over, if you take the 5.5 goals for the game, over 5.5 minus 165 today. So our picks for Florida and Toronto, the alternate over at 5.5, Brad Marchand to pick up an anytime point, Austin Matthews over on the shots, and take your choice, whether you like Toronto or Florida here. Toronto, a chance to take a stronghold of the series. Florida, not great on the odds market, but they have a chance to bounce back and tie this one up. Again, probably better if you're looking at Florida to win this game rather than betting the individual game to bet the comeback in the series, something we talked about 2 days ago, the last time these two teams were playing entering game 3. Timo, closing it off here again on Mother's Day. A happy Mother's Day to all. Your final thoughts as we look to an earlier slate. We don't have to stay up until 1 a.m. to watch hockey tonight.
Looking forward to the games tonight. I have to say, I noticed that Florida, all those guys seem to have the same beard. I don't know if they had got a discount at the barber on beard trims. Buy 19 get one free. But that was a joke about Vegas, actually, not Florida. If I said Florida there, but missing on my joke here to end the show. But looking forward to the games today. Let's take it up again tomorrow.
You got 24 hours to craft a new one for Monday morning. Timo and I will be back tomorrow with a new slate, new picks, new parlays for you to have. And it's been a pretty good weekend so far. Hopefully that'll continue here with a couple more games to go. He's Timo Seppa. I'm Casey Ditzel. Continue to tune in. Make sure to follow, like, and subscribe. YouTube, Spotify, and Twitter for daily picks and props to help you out, analytics behind the numbers in the NHL betting market. Until tomorrow, have a good one, everybody.